So thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm just opening up my file here. Thank you so much for joining us. This is the legal table, which is going to be on housing rights in Minnesota. We are joined today by two special guests. We have Heidi Ucker from LSNM, and she is one of the director of advocacy, and she is also an attorney. And then we have Armando Mendez, and he is from Mojave Atwa, and he is from our Latino, ooh, uh, I do apologize, the Latino, oh
It's
my
it's a it's a mouthful. Latino Engagement Community Specialist with Mojave Olwa.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not saying it right and I'm going to skip all over it. But alrighty. So normally I just wanted to make sure that I have everybody in here. We normally wait about a minute. And okay. So today we're going to be addressing the housing rights in Minnesota. What we normally want to talk about is housing law because it's essential. It ensures that individuals understand their rights and protections when it comes to safe and stable and affordable housing. It empowers people to challenge unlawful evictions, discrimination, and unsafe living conditions. So, by understanding housing rights, Minnesotans can advocate for themselves and their families, helping to build some stronger, more equitable communities where everyone has the opportunity to live with dignity and security. Presently, we're trying to make sure that people in the counties that we serve are aware of their options and resources available for its community members. So as you may know, the Legal Services of Northwest Minnesota, we serve 22 counties and we have 3 offices in the areas where we assist clients in navigating the justice system and we provide services for low-income individuals with their civil legal needs. Outside of providing full representation for a client, we have legal kiosks in 87 counties, and I'm sorry, 87 locations in our service area. And we provide virtual courts and we also assist with legal documents in those with legal kiosks. We have a justice bus, and that is our mobile clinic that allows for us to go into the communities where transportation is limited to provide legal assistance. We also have self-help clinics to assist with do-it-yourself documents. And we hope to bring you more information on many civil legal topics throughout the year. So make sure you continue to join us and pass the information along to coworkers and with clients. And really quick, I just wanted to give you guys just a few house rules for our wonderful, wonderful presentation today. Please make sure to put all the questions in the chat and we'll get to them at the end of the presentation. Also, this is a quick hour-long meeting, so if you would like more information, each panelist will have their information listed at the end of the meeting. This meeting will be available on our YouTube channel by the end of the week. So if you have coworkers that were unable to make it, please make sure to check out our channel. And if you have any questions at all, my contact information will be at the end. So you'll be able to contact me as well. So without further ado, we are going to go ahead and start off with Heidi from LSNM. And go ahead and take it away, Heidi.
Good afternoon. As Crystal said, I work at Legal Services. I've been here, I forget now, I think 20 some years, maybe 21, 22. And for a majority of that time, I did do housing law for our organization. And so today I wanted to focus on one of the prevalent issues that we see come into our office, and that is housing repairs. Now, I want to give you a few caveats before we go forward, and that is that this applies to rental situations, with it can be public housing, it can be subsidized housing, and it's private landlord rental as well. This information wouldn't apply to someone with a contract for deed generally, and it also wouldn't apply for to someone who is buying or owns a mobile home. So there's some different processes there, but I wanted to give you the narrower scope and let you know that there's some other options with regards to those other scenarios. And so when it comes down to repairs, there's two sorts of tracks you can take. One is called a rent escrow action, and that would be for any sort of routine repair. An example of that could be that maybe your sink is just leaking a tiny bit, or maybe your cupboard is falling off. And I'll go talk about that one first. The other one that I will follow up with are emergency repairs. And in general, although I'll tell you exactly what kind they are, those are repairs in which are sort of life and safety related, such as lack of water, lack of sanitary facilities, and those sorts of things. And so I will talk about first the run-of-the-mill routine non-emergency repair issues. Uh, the first thing that we advise every client to do is to put any requests for repairs in writing, because the statute's going to require that you show the court that you gave the landlord notice that this repair existed and you gave them an opportunity to fix it, usually about 14 days. Now, the one thing we advise clients not to do is to not stop paying your rent. If it's a routine repair, the courts really frown upon stopping paying rent to try to force your landlord to make the repairs. Instead, what the court would ask you to do is, if they haven't made the repairs within a couple of weeks of notice, you can file what's called a rent escrow action, and you can place your rent with the court on deposit with the court while you're waiting for that court hearing. And at the end of that court hearing, the court will decide if the tenant gets money back, if the landlord gets money back, or how that money is split because of the landlord's failure to make repairs. One cautionary thing is that if a tenant is behind in rent and they cannot post all of their rent due with the court, we do not advise them to file this lawsuit. The landlord can counterclaim for eviction for non-payment of rent. And as sort of a practical point from my years of practice, if it's a routine repair, the court is not going to say that you owe no rent as a tenant. If you got to use the entire apartment except one cupboard for that time, the court is not going to say you owe no rent. It's going to be a very slight rent reduction in general for these kinds of things. What will happen then is the court will set a hearing, and they will hear both sides of it, and they will issue a decision where they will decide, should we order the landlord to make this repair? Should we order, where should the rent go that's paid into the court? The other thing that I would look at this is that you can't force a landlord to make a routine repair at their cost if it's due to the tenant's negligence, and that's the issue for it. And so in general, most of the repairs are the landlord's responsibility unless it's caused by the tenant's negligence. So if a tenant had a fight in their apartment and there's a hole in the wall, the landlord may need to fix that hole, but the tenant will have to pay for that hole in general. And so that is sort of the summary of just the regular sort of run-of-the-mill repair issues that that we see. The other is the more serious. The more serious type of action is called an emergency tenants remedy action. And last year, our legislature really improved the Minnesota statute on this particular issue. It used to kind of just say loss of services or facilities. The legislature now defined all of the things that are emergencies. And one of the best things is that they now consider a serious infestation an emergency issue, whether it's mice, cockroaches, bed bugs. Um, that's going to be an emergency issue. The loss of running water, the loss of hot water, the loss of heat, the loss of electricity, the loss of sanitary facilities, a non-functioning refrigerator. If it's included in the lease, a non-functioning elevator. In addition, any condition services or facilities that pose a serious and negative impact on the health and safety of the tenant. And so it's great that our legislature has went on and defined that. I think that one thing that people run into, whether it's as a tenant or someone working with a tenant, is some, especially with infestations, because they are very difficult to determine how they started, why they started, or when they started. Lots of times landlords will say it may be the fault of the tenant. And so, what I would say about that is, especially in apartment buildings where the units are attached, there would it would almost be impossible to say where a bed bug or a cockroach infestation started. Sometimes we can track it back. Let's say there's a tenant who brings in furniture from, a curb or things like that. We encourage tenants not to do that because of the very reason that you can bring in infestations and things of that nature. And in Minnesota, almost 100% of the time, if it's not caused by a tenant's negligence, a landlord is responsible to make and pay for those repairs. And so the exception would be is that in some leases, it may say that the tenant is responsible for, it may say repairs, it may say lawn mowing, it may say shoveling snow. If that's in fact something a renter is responsible for, the lease has to exactly say that, and the tenant actually has to be reimbursed for those services. And so we see that quite often as well, is that tenants will come in with a lease and the landlord is mad the lawn hasn't been mowed, but the lease doesn't offer compensation for that lawn mowing. And so it's really not a valid term of the lease. And so as and I advise if there's any landlords here, I advise that you can set your rent price and say a rent credit of $50 is given each month for the mowing of the lawn or the shoveling of the snow. That would help to get you in compliance with um, that clause of the statute. And so, what do you do if there's an emergency issue? The court does not say that you have to wait around for 14 days. What the law says is that you can call the landlord and inform them about it. If you normally email or text your landlord as a form of communication, you can also use those forms of a communication to let the landlord know. At that point, the landlord does have only about 24 hours to attend to this issue. And so if they don't, and you've given that 24-hour verbal or written in the form of a text or an email, if you've given that notice, you can then apply to the court for relief. It is a very simple action, actually. There are pro se forms for both of these actions on the Minnesota court website. And the emergency tenants one, I believe, is only a page or so. And the court would hear that on an expedited basis. They'll say, oh, it's an emergency. we need to hear this as soon as possible. And your remedies are, basically with the emergency order or, ordering the repairs. It could be a rent return, it could be a rent abatement for future times if the repairs aren't made. In addition, there are in the other action, in the normal action, if the landlord has just shown a disregard for everything that you've asked and done, they can order kind of called sanctions. They can order what are called treble damages. And that is award you triple the amount of the damages, um, or $500 as a fee for, the landlord not complying with the law or the statute. At Legal Services, we do often get involved in the emergency repair issues for clients because, as you can see, those are really, really serious issues. Um, we don't always get involved in the sort of run of the mill because of our resources. But some of the run of the mill ones sort of add up into bigger things that we may take a look at. But we would really encourage any referrals, especially for these emergency issues. And so that's a summary of the two types of actions and ways to go about getting repairs made by a landlord.
That is perfect. Thank you so much, Heidi, for that. There was a couple of questions that popped up, and we'll definitely take those at the end. But that's really important for people to know. When I go into different communities, especially when I go into some new American communities that they're not exactly familiar with all of the laws that we have, you do see that people don't know that you can do the rent escrow action, and sometimes they are holding their rent, and they think, well, if I hold my rent, then they'll make these actions, and then they get evicted. And so it's really, really important to share with your community members about the different types of repairs that can be requested. And then if they do have questions, to make sure that they come to us on that. So thank you so much, Heidi. We will get to some questions in a little bit, but that also brings me over to Armando. Armando is from Mojave, and he deals with many people in the, I believe, in the Becker County community. Is that correct, Armando?
Actually, 5 counties. The name Mojave Ottawa is actually conjunction of all those counties. The Mojave will be for Mahnomen, Hubbard, and Becker. That will be the Mojave part, and then the Ottawa will be for Otter Tail and Wadena. So we do cover five different counties. Yeah.
Perfect. That's awesome. Well, if you want to let us know a little bit about what you do and about how you help, and especially when it comes into housing, we would love to hear it.
Okay. So first of all, my name is, for those who don't know me, my name is Armando Mendez. I am, as Crystal was saying, I am the Latino engagement community specialist for Mojave Ottawa. We have another community specialist with Mojave Ottawa. He normally deals more with the reservations and the Native Americans. So that's what his job is. We don't really work together per se because we each are doing our thing, but we work together as in helping the people that need it the most. My job here in Mojave mainly is to learn every single one of the programs that we provide for our clients, and what need to learn what is needed for them to be able to apply for said services. Um, we offer more than just housing. Just some examples that I can provide you. We can help people with filling their taxes. Once a year, we actually get specialists from, uh, accountants and such. And for about a month, we offer the free services. They can come to any of our offices, and they can file their taxes for free because you hear online, H&R Block or whatever, that it's going to be a free service, and at the end of the day, they end up paying $400 or $500 that they weren't expecting to get their taxes filed at the end. We do it for free for them. Uh, we actually help them to apply for SNAP. Also, if they have any need for birth control, we have actual health clinics in about three of the bases that we have. Um, we can help people get their kids ready for kindergarten. We have the program, you might have heard of this, Head Start. It's controlled by or run by Mojave Ottawa here in the area, and also by community engagement, community action, my bad. If people need some help paying for their childcare, we also provide that help. If they need help with applying for their health insurance, Minnesota Care, Mensure in this area, we are actually helping with that provider. And then for people that are not able to clean up their driveways and stuff for snow, even mowing their lawn, we actually work with the government to get people to help, people that are older, um, to get their lawn, to get their driveway clean as well.
If oh, I don't know if we lost Armando here.
I believe he's the only frozen one.
Okay. Well, while we are waiting for Armando, we'll probably just give him a minute or two because it might just be a connection thing. So, while we're waiting, Heidi, is it okay if I ask you a couple of questions really quick? Okay, perfect.
Absolutely.
Alrighty. So, one of the questions that had come up is rent abatement. And if you can kind of explain what that meant, because the term was out there, but some people might be like, I'm not exactly sure what that means. So, can you give us a little bit more detail on that?
Yep, a rent abatement is different than a rent return. So, in these cases of serious or extensive repair issues, the court may monitor the case for several months. And so, for example, let's say a landlord hasn't made a repair and there might be some foundation leakage. This has happened to us quite a few times in the past as far as receiving these calls. Foundation leakage can make a lower level unusable. It can also be very difficult to repair in a timely manner if it happens during the winter or even the spring up in Minnesota and North Dakota. And so let's say that you can't use the lower level of your rental, and it might be 2 or 3 or 4 months for the issue to be fixed. An abatement means that the court is going to say, I am going to abate or reduce your rent by X amount of dollars until this repair is made. So it's, people say rent credit, people say abate, people say reduce, but they're all kind of work in the same way. Does that answer your question?
No, that's really good because I think that some people are just used to different types of verbiage. So it's always good to, really get a good understanding, especially if you're an organization that has clients that are kind of like, okay, well, somebody said rent abatement, not exactly sure. So thank you so much for clarifying that. Also, earlier you had talked about, and you said that the types of situations that you're going to give are for renters, specifically for apartment rentals and such, or people that are renting. What type of attorney would you need for somebody that does have a home or a trailer? Like, is there a specific attorney that you should look for in those situations if you need a repair done, maybe because of a natural disaster?
As a matter of fact, your local CAP agencies, such as Mahubi, depending where you're located, we have what's called CAP LP in the Clay and Wilkin area. Each community or county in Minnesota has what's called a community action program. There's Tri Valley Opportunity Council. There's many of them that I could think of. But if you didn't have insurance didn't cover it, you need assistance, especially if it's financial assistance for home repairs, I would look to your community action programs first. Also, United Way takes the front lead on a lot of the issues. We just, as you know, had a disaster in Bemidji, which is in our service area, and the United Way has been fabulous in conjunction with their CAB agency, Community Resource Center.
Perfect. Thank you for that. And that is a good point. We just had a huge disaster in that area, and LSNM was there. to be able to help to assist clients, especially with some of their documents that they needed to be replaced. So I'm really, really grateful that we did have some boots on the ground attorneys and also our disaster grant coordinator to be able to help out. Um, I thought I just saw Armando jump back on, but maybe I'm mistaken. Oh, no, I do see him right there. Okay, perfect. And
I
that kind of is
apologize.
no worries. It's a good segue because we were talking about homeowners and we were talking about if you're a homeowner or if maybe you own a trailer park, where could you go to on those issues? So it may be it will probably be something that you'll discuss later, but you can go ahead on, Armando. I just wanted to let you know where we were in the conversation.
So first of all, we have a bad storm coming through and power outage. Everything shut down. So that's what happened. In
Oh,
case you were
I'm
wondering.
sorry about that. It looks gray over here too. So, and I'm in Moorhead, so it's
So,
looking a little questionable. Anyway, go ahead. I'm
anyways, I
sorry.
was at the point with some of the services that we offer. We can also teach people about if they want to volunteer in the community. We teach them that. If people need help, it's going to be a little bit more with housing. If they need some help with their deposit for housing for rent, we help them with that. Um, Place to live and shelter, which I will actually elaborate on that. If they need help with insulating their home, because a lot of the people, as long as it's okay with the landlord, if some of the homes might waste too much energy. We noticed that because we offer energy assistance with Mojave Odwa. So we're helping somebody paying their bills, and we realize that, let's say, their furnace is not working correctly, or they have a big hole in the wall. Uh, we actually have a team that is called the weatherization team that will help them get that up and running, so that they don't have to pay so much for electricity, because that will affect paying for their rent and such. Little things like that we do. And of course, we have the energy assistance, which will pay for a determined amount, up to $1,500 for people that need to pay, for their electricity, and their gas, mainly during the winter season, which is when people need it the most. Now with Mojave Odwa, what we offer for housing, we have three different programs. Each one of the programs has a specific group of people that is targeted to. I have personally helped with the homeless prevention program. The homeless prevention program is actually, I will say, my favorite, and also probably one of the hardest ones to deal with because everything that it implies. So it's called a FHPAP. It helps people in their homes. It is a critical resource for families facing tough times. To qualify, households need to be below 200% of the federal poverty guidelines, which I think I like that part, because I know several programs that are helping the homeless, they're required for them to be at 100%. This one is up to 200%. So in my from my point of view, that's a lot better. To qualify, and it's about probably $60,000, depending on the area where you are. Here in Minnesota, I believe it's about 60,000, and that's for a family of four. Exact numbers are going to be changing, year to year. And they also need to be in a housing crisis. What is a housing crisis? And they are staying with a relative. They are staying in a shelter already. We had people living in a tent. We had a girl that we helped about 4 months ago. She was seriously living in her car. She will park her car at the Walmart parking lot, have all of her stuff there, and to take showers, she would just go to a truck stop and just pay whatever amount to be able to take a shower there. And she did that for about 4 months. She came to us saying that she had a crisis, and we had to take a lot of things into consideration. Are they likely to fall back if we stop helping? A little bit of things like that. Um, let's see. I have all my information right in front of me. It will serve anybody, even people that are underage, 16 to 24. It can cover the rent. So let's say they come to us and say, "Hey, I'm about to get evicted because I haven't paid my rent for several months." We can help them with that. We communicate directly with the landlord. Of course, we will pay the landlord directly, and we can pay their utility bills so that they can live in their house. Because if you are able to pay the rent, but you're not able to pay for your electricity or your gas, then what's the point? We can help you with that. We even help if they have a foreclosure with their house, as you were saying, homeowners. We can actually help them with that. We will talk to whoever is doing their mortgage and try to cover part of it. It is available across all Minnesota counties, and of course, even though it's available across all Minnesota, we normally just deal with the five counties that we deal with here in Mojave, Iowa. And we also help with we can contribute with legal advocacies and make sure if we are not able to help them at that point, we can reach out to other organizations, for example, you guys in LSNM, to see what else we can do in those cases. That will be for the homeless prevention. Again, mainly as for preventing either people that are about to become homeless or people that are already homeless and, cover their bills. We have also had transitional housing. This program is actually supports people who are already homeless or need safe housing. While I seriously don't work directly with that program. I actually heard, read, and communicated with the people that are part of that program. It's actually a literal lifeline for clients that are in crisis. It's open for single adults and families. This one doesn't have income limits, so that we can focus on getting them out of their, the homelessness. It provides temporary housing. What we did in this case, we had a client about 2 months ago. She came here to Minnesota from Oklahoma. She was a very special case for us, and it hit everybody that worked in her case. Um, she came here to the States undocumented. She was actually sex trafficked in the city of Oklahoma. She ended up getting pregnant, ended up having a baby. Moved here to to the area in Minnesota. So we needed to find a way for her to stay away out of the streets. Why? Because she has a newborn baby. So we pushed it. We finally got her in a house, and we're paying for every single thing that she needs in that apartment. And I mean everything, her food, electricity, everything like that. We cover everything for the baby, diapers, baby food, everything that she needs. While we're doing that, we're also working with another organization called Someplace Safe, because they deal with people that have been sex trafficked, and we're also working with the DHS. All that together, just to make sure that this woman will actually get a special kind of visa that they get whenever they're in a protected status, such as the being sex trafficked. And Mojave Oba will deal with those kinds of things. Again, we're not able to deal with every single one of the details, and that is why we get a hold of different organizations. In this case, Someplace Safe came in and helped us a lot with that kind of program. I'm very happy that that's happening. After that, after we're helping with all homeless prevention, with transitioning, we can keep people in a program up to 5 years. We try not to do it for that long because if you just keep providing money to people that need it for 5 years, it's going to be very hard for them to get out of the program on their own. We have had several people that after a year or so they live on their own. They start to make it on better money. They're able to pay for their rent. They're able to pay for everything that they need to pay for. So they themselves will get a hold of us and say, you know what, I don't need the program anymore. Thank you for helping us for the last couple of years. We are very thankful, and those are success stories. But again, we still have what we call the housing stabilization. If they still need help after being in a home, they might have to skip rent 1 or 2 months. Then they can come to us and we can try to help them with whatever we can at that point. If we're not able to, again, we will recommend it to a different spot with people that can actually take care of them at that point. We have again several partners that we deal with, and if they need to move to a place, we can cover up to $3,000 and little things like that. All of this takes coordinated entry. It's a dice that is for the entire nation. Um, the coordinator helps whenever somebody comes into the office. The very first thing that we do, we put them in that list. That is a waiting list, and the waiting list will take care of whoever needs it the most first. So if you have a problem because you have a past balance due on your rent, and let's say it's $1,500, but then somebody comes in and they have a couple of kids and they are homeless at the point, the coordinator is probably going to grab the people that are already homeless with a couple of kids that need to be put in a home right away. That also helps so that if you come to me for help and are expecting money to be paid to somebody on your behalf, and we're already making a deal between Mojave Ottawa and you, but then you turn around and go to a couple of blocks away from us and then ask for help as well, they are able to see, okay, well, Mojave always already it's already grabbed the case, so the urgency is not that bad, or we can see, well, someplace safe is already taking care of this, so the urgency is not that bad either. Little things like that help to coordinate amongst, all of the organizations here in the state of Minnesota. So we are able to help people that need it the most right away, and then we can jump to the people that also need the help, but might not be as urgent as the homeless ones per se.
Thank you for that, Armando. That is a ton of information, and I know that Mojave does amazing job assisting many clients in the area. I did get a couple of questions too, so I wanted to go over those because I did go over Heidi's while you were just experiencing some technical difficulties. So if that's okay. Um, Oh, okay, perfect. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about actually was you talked about a waiting list, and I know that you guys have priority levels depending on the severity of the situation. But is there a time limit for the list? Do you normally tell them, or is it just kind of, hey, our waiting list is a year long, or our waiting list is just 2 or 3 months, or is there kind of no time periods, just when you're able to service that client?
Is actually we try not to make it that long. I know that places like the HRAs and in towns normally will have a very long waiting list. We had clients that have communicated like, well, we have a 2-year waiting list. The problem is that even if the client is not in an urgent need right now that needs to do it right now, 2 years from now, they're not going to have a home anymore. So we need to make sure that we do something in between. So even if we put you on a waiting list and your problems get worse, then we're gonna have to jump in and make some changes to that waiting list. So it's not, we normally try to get them out of the streets or out of their predicament within a couple of months.
Okay.
We have different kinds of programs that we can always borrow borrow some funds from, and be able to help a specific client that might need help with something else. And And again, having been partnering with other organizations does help a lot because we're able to talk to them. Hey, while we are able to help them, can you jump in and help this client over here or over there?
And
So yeah,
you did talk about how if one organization is helping out with particular services, you try not to replicate that same service. So I'm assuming that there is, and I think you talked about a system and then it kind of glitched out. So I apologize if I didn't hear, but is there a way that organizations can get onto that? I guess, wraparound services system so that they can also be able to see if a client is being helped and how they can help out?
it's called a coordinated entry.
Coordinated
Many,
entry.
yeah, many of the organizations that actually help with, especially with homeless, have access to that database. So they're able to see if, let's say you're asking for help in the city of Fergus Falls because you don't have a place to live. But then you also ask for help in the city of Minneapolis a couple of days ago. We are able to see, well, where do you need the help with? Do you need it in Minneapolis or do you need it around here? We normally ask the client, are you okay with living, for example, in the city of St. Claude? Or are you okay with living in Alexandria? Are you okay with living in Pelican Rapids? Would that be fine with you? Why? Because you're not always going to be able to find a place to rent in the location that you want it. Um, they come into the Fergus Falls office. There's nowhere that we can even find if you had the money to even rent. So will you be okay with moving to Pelican Rapids? That will be a little travel if you work in Fergus, so like a 20-minute drive, Are you okay with moving closer to Moorhead? Are you okay with moving to Monoman? Little things like that. All of that is actually entered in the coordinated entry anytime that we work with the client, so that whoever grabs the case in the future, if it's not Mojave Odwa, they can see what the customer has received help with. And that also prevents for fraud in the future, because unfortunately, when you're helping somebody in need, there's always going to be that person that doesn't really need help, and they're just trying to gain the system. Um, all of that, you have to take all of that into consideration, and so that we can offer help to the people that really need the help.
No, that's a really good point. So I'm glad that you brought that up. Um, so we did have a question in the chat. The services should you provide? You said that there is an eligibility, an income eligibility level, but sometimes we have seniors that are on a fixed income and they may be over that level. So first question, is there help for elders who do own a home? And the second question to that, I think to tie on to that is if a senior is over an eligibility limit, are there like free waivers, or do you help seniors in a particular program so that eligibility is still so that they're still able to be eligible for your services? I should say that.
You know what the biggest benefit that I have, or that I've seen working with Mojave Otwa, is that, and I'm saying this as a person who's been helped by Mojave Otwa in the past. I myself been helped in the past, because we all have times in our lives when we need help. Um, One of my favorite things about working here is that I don't consider us following things because they're written by necessarily by the law. Well, we're still able to keep everything legal without breaking any laws, but still being able to help people that might not necessarily qualify because they are $20 above the limit. And what I mean by that is, with the seniors, they might own their home, but they are in a fixed income, so they're not making a lot of money. But when we look at it, well, they already have a home, so there's no need for this. But there are services that they might still need. They might not be able to pay for their rent. Sorry, they might not be able to pay for their electric bill. They might not be able to pay for their heat because something happened at that moment. We have, as I was saying before, we have programs that we can borrow from, so that we can be able to offer help, if temporary, but at least to get them out of that predicament. We know that they're not going to be a permanent client, so with a non-permanent client, we might be able to move things around to make sure that they get help at the moment that they need it, instead of having to go through the whole entire process. We're not bureaucrats. We're actually here to help people. We don't work for the government, even though the government helps us. We are here really to help people that need help. It doesn't matter the color of your skin. It doesn't matter how much you make. Do you need help at the moment? Then that's all we need to know.
Okay, no, thank you for that. So here's a question, and it's, I believe, for Heidi. And if you may need some more explanation from the person that asked it, but I'm just going to make sure to let you know. So they said, to know our rights as a homeowner, there are some people that came before and during COVID and now will not leave. So I think they wanted to know what their rights are. They needed to find a place to give them advice on what to do for those people that came during COVID.
Because this seems like a specific legal problem to the by the person who asked the question, I would love for you to contact our office so that you could maybe get a private consultation. There's a lot of things that I would need to know that that might be your personal business in order to answer your question. And so Crystal should have our phone number probably listed at the end. I encourage you to call and apply for our services so you can get the best and most comprehensive answer to your question.
Perfect. Thank you for that, Heidi. I just wanted to make sure that I addressed everyone's questions that had one in the chat. And then I also wanted to make sure that for the people that are on the line, that they're familiar with lawhelpmn.org. When I first started here at LSNM, I learned about this website, and this is the best resource for you as a client in the community or a community organization to know what the rights and responsibilities are for the state of Minnesota. This one is regularly updated by attorneys and by the state. And so I would say that it would be one of the most accurate resources to be able to use. And so I wanted to just kind of share with you how to navigate this website, because it's truly an amazing website to get the most accurate answers. So can everybody see my screen okay? Yeah? All right, perfect. So lawhelpmn.org. This one, if you are a client or if you are a community organization, there is kind of like a guided tour that will be able to get you to where you want to go. So if you have a question, you can click on any of the buttons. They'll take you to the next one. Maybe you say you want to learn more about your rights and legal problems. It'll ask you, what kind of help do you need? So a couple of the different questions will come up, and maybe you want to talk about housing. So you'll click on housing. It'll ask you, hey, which of these apply to you? Well, today we're talking about most of our renters. So we'll click on renters. Maybe your housing is in need of repair. So we're going to click on that button here. So then it'll ask you some more questions. I need my landlord to fix a mold issue. Okay. Then you'll press continue to get your results. When you press continue, it's going to bring you to a wonderful information sheet where it's going to give you booklets, sometimes videos, and really great explanations, and also some of the court documents that Heidi was talking about earlier. So here for this particular one, they are talking about bed bugs, getting a landlord to make repairs, tenant right booklets, do-it-yourself court forms, some helpful websites for you to know, also about remote hearings. And one thing for people to know, even for evictions in Minnesota, is that most of them are virtual. So we do have our attorney at LSNM on the line during housing court. And if you need to be able to see if you qualify for our services, our attorney is available to be able to speak with you. And we do have a full-time housing attorney. So I think that's just an amazing thing that we're able to offer. All right. So I also wanted to, let's see, go in to let you know, oh yeah, sorry, there's videos as well. Now, if you're already at the Law Help site and you're like, you know what, I kind of already know what I want to look at, you can go to this self-help library. And when you click on the self-help library, you can scroll down and browse the different civil legal topics. So this is really, really a great resource, especially if you are an organization that has clients in the community that is low income. They'll be able to give you a little bit more info. Even if you don't have clients that are low income, but you are dealing with different barriers for clients, this is an amazing resource. So click on housing. Then you're going to find a plethora of different housing questions on here. And so you might want to put repair problems when renting. When you scroll down, you're going to see all the different fact sheets. If you want to see a little bit more, you'll see all the different fact sheets that are available on there. Tenant right booklets, do-it-yourself forms, different websites. And the videos are really a nice touch too, because if you're a person that maybe is not a visual learner, you're more of an auditory learner, videos are going to be helpful. If for some reason you are in a situation that is maybe a domestic situation and you are searching a topic that you do not want other people to know that you're searching about, and you need to be able to get off your screen, please note that there is a quick exit so that you're able to click off of that so that no one is able to see what is going on your screen, and you can continue to remain safe. If for some reason you are like, hey, you know, okay, I now know what I need, but I think I need to talk to an attorney in my area, you can go ahead and click on providers and clinics on the top here. And when you click on providers and clinics, you're able to use this search function to be able to find the particular legal topic, maybe a keyword, If you click over here, you can find a particular service area, or maybe you already know the organization, you just didn't have their contact information. You can click on uh, any of the different organizations there. Or maybe there's just a service type and you're like, hey, I need some mediation. My landlord is a little overbearing and I just don't feel like they're able to hear my voice. Let's just see what I can do. You're able to click onto that and find a person in your area. All right. If for some reason you have a issue and it's not in Minnesota, you can go to lawhelp.org. You can select the state that your case is venued, and then you'll be able to get the state support for that particular state. So just know that just in case maybe you're a Minnesota resident, but your case is venued in North Dakota, you'll need to make sure to go to lawhelp.org, and then you'll be able to get to that place. Also, they do have a really neat chat feature. So if you click on the chat feature, I believe there is somebody that actively looks at the chat requests daily. So feel free to leave your information there on Law Help MN chat, and they should be able to get back to you. All right. Ooh, there we go. All right, I'm going to go ahead and unshare my screen for a moment. And I just wanted to check to see if there was another questions. Oh, we do have another question on here. Let's see. Oh, yes. And also, so I wanted to make sure that you also knew about Homeline. Homeline is a really good resource for landlord-tenant issues, and they also advise landlords. And there's a no income restrictions, especially if you are a homeowner. That might be a really good resource for you to be able to use. And it's Homeline. I should probably pop that up on here. And let me share my screen one more time. Sorry about that. Oh, maybe if I click the share button, there we go. Sorry about that. Okay, so Homeline, it's also a nonprofit Minnesota tenant advocacy organization. The phone number is up here if you need to contact them. They do have free legal help, and this legal help you can email an attorney, and they have all sorts of information that you should definitely read prior to asking for attorney's assistance. But let me go to the front page here. If you're not familiar with this website, please make sure you bookmark it. It's an amazing tool to be able to give to your renters and homeowners in Minnesota. Okay, and it is just homelinemn.org. All right, and I'll go ahead and stop sharing again here. Looks like we have another question. Oh, there we go. Home. Thank you for that, Heidi. All right, perfect. Okay,
Double teaming.
Thank you. Yes, because I was just in there. So, do we have any other questions, last minute questions or thoughts? All right, what we'll do is really quick. Heidi, can you explain the ways that people are able to apply for our services here really quick?
The best and fastest way to apply for our services is to call our legal hotline at 1-800-450-8585. You certainly can do an application via mail or online, and I can give you our website, but that is not the fastest way to get to us. If you want to do one online, you can go to www.l as in legal, S as in Sam, N as in North, M as in Minnesota, L as in legal, aw.org.
Perfect. Thank you for that. And then Armando, are you able to let us know how we can apply for services at Mojave?
Yeah, our main line is 888-458-1385. That's going to be our main number. Again, I'm going to repeat it just in case. 888-458-1385.
Perfect. Thank you for that. Okay, I am trying to make sure that I have our contact information at the end. Well, I know that we're getting close to the end of our time here, so I wanted to make sure to say thank you to our presenters for presenting today. I'm trying to do one final check here of people. I thought there was one more question. I just didn't want to forget anybody here. Let me, oh, let's see. There we go. Perfect. Okay, well, I guess who's this? Is this one last one here? Oh, perfect. Tag teaming again. Alrighty. Well, I'm going to share my screen one last time to make sure that we are good to go. And I wanted to let you know that my name is Crystal Jamerson. My email address is on the screen here and my phone number. If you would like any additional contacts for either LSNM or Mojave Atwa, please feel free to give me a call. I can get you connected. Also, if your staff would like a presentation of Legal Aid 101 because they just want to be able to know what services we're able to provide, feel free to either call me, email, or if you use the QR code, you can book an appointment with me at any time and we can go over the needs of your organizations and the clients that you serve. Again, I want to thank everybody for coming out. Our next legal table will not be next month, but the month after that. So we're in July, not August, but in September. And in September, we are getting our guest speakers together. If you would like to be a guest speaker, please feel free to give me a call. I would love to be able to highlight your organization and the wonderful work that you're doing. Again, thank you to everybody, and you guys have a great afternoon. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.